Okay, this is going to be the weighted average method. If you haven't watched FIFO and LIFO, please watch those, and then come back and watch this one. Again, just to review, these are the data from the problem, however many units we had in the beginning inventory and purchases, how many units were sold, and we haven't figured out the cost because that's what we're doing. We're computing the cost based on these cost flow assumptions. Units acquired at cost obviously is so simple. We're just adding up the number of units we purchased, multiplying each purchase or the beginning inventory by the cost associated with it, coming up with the total cost. So we have our beginning inventory, our total goods available for sale in units and in dollars. It asks to compute the number of units in ending inventory. That's just simple as beginning units available for sale minus the units sold. So 240. That's all you need to do, that little bit right there to get this. Okay, let's do weighted average. You're going to find this interesting. I think you'll find it easier in most ways than LIFO and FIFO. But let's see. You'll notice that we don't have extra layers. Here's the process. This is the thing to remember. Every time you make a purchase, you recompute your average, this number right here. So I'm going to go ahead and make these guys more visible to you, I hope. The beginning inventory was 100 units at 50. We are not going to change that. We purchased 400 units at $55. So here's what you do. You're going to add the number of units you had to begin with plus the number of units you purchased. And then you're going to take the cost you had to begin with plus the cost of the units you purchased. And then you're going to divide the cost by the units to get the cost per unit. And you notice I have extra decimal places here to take care of the pennies because we get to that point. So after we purchase 400 units at $55, my average or weighted average cost per unit is $54. When I sell, I'm going to use that cost as my cost of goods sold. So 420 units sold, I only have one layer, just 500 minus 420 gives me 80 units. I sold them costing at $54, so $22,680 is cost of goods sold. Ending inventory at that time is $43.20. I'm going to add two more layers. Again, 80 units plus 120 units gives me 200 units, $4,320 in cost, plus $7,200 in cost gives me $11,520. When I purchase the next one, and then you re-average. You look at the equation. It's cost, total cost minus total units available, and that gives you your weighted average cost per unit. Now we're going to buy 200 more units. So 200 units I had before plus 200 units I purchased gives me 400 units available. The cost was $11,520 in my before this purchase. Then I purchased 12,400 more, gives me a total of $23,920. Divide 23,920 by 400 to get the cost per unit. This is the weighted average cost per unit. Then I'm going to sell. There's no layers, so 400 units minus 160 sold gives me 240 units in inventory. I'm going to use $59.80, my weighted average cost per unit, as my cost of goods sold, and that'll give me my total. You'll notice here we don't have to have a lot of extra totals and balances and stuff like that. We purchased 720 units. We had 100 units available for sale. Beginning inventory, so that's 820 units. We sold 580 units, and I've accounted for those. Let's do the math again. Beginning inventory plus purchases minus cost of goods sold. Got to make Excel behave here. Beginning inventory is $5,000. Purchases was $41,600. Cost of goods sold is $32,248. Add all those up, and we get $14,352 for ending inventory. And if you'll notice, just a quick review here, $14,352 is going to be between the ending inventory for LIFO. LIFO is going to have the lowest ending inventory. Remember, $14,352 LIFO has 13,680, and FIFO has 14,800. FIFO has the highest ending inventory when prices are rising. LIFO has the lowest ending inventory when prices are rising. Weighted average is somewhere in the middle. Cost of goods sold, 32,248 for weighted average. Pardon the coughing, folks. LIFO should have higher cost of goods sold because we're assuming that we sold the most expensive items first. So 32,248 for weighted average, 32,920 for LIFO, and FIFO should have the lowest cost of goods sold, 31,800. All right, those are the three cost flow assumptions: FIFO, LIFO, and weighted average.